So, for your kind information, for the participants, this session, we will refer a lot about the guideline to group practice for micro-credential. So, kindly refer to the guideline that is already attached in the Google Calendar attachment for your kind reference throughout the session. Okay, without waiting any further, I would like to invite Prof. Andy to deliver his sharing. So the floor is yours, Prof.
Alright, salam pagi dan salam sejahtera rakan-rakan seperjuangan daripada International Islamic University Malaysia. After hearing what Mira and Shu, they have introduced me very generously dengan kata-kata mada manis yang mencuit hati, and saya juga semakin risau. And I'm also feeling a bit panicky inside me because they have set the expectation. That's the expectation of the speaker. You really have to live up to whatever that has been outlined there. So to me, you are all like my brothers, like my sisters, all right? Some of you could be really my abang, which are more senior than me. Some of you could be my adik, could be adik perempuan, adik laki pun boleh. But just for your information, umur saya dah melepasi setengah abad. All right, so with that, I hope I do not offend anybody of you, any one of you out there if I were to call you abang or adik, all right? So what we want to do today is to make sure we have a interactive and engaging session. I think what we are doing today is a reverse role that you are playing. Most of the time you will be here standing and engaging with your fellow students. Today, you are playing the role of the students on the other end. So when you're playing the role on the students on the other end, I'm sure you expect this lecturer to carry himself or herself in a very engaging manner. And my expectation to you would be the same as well. Jangan rasa segan, jangan rasa silu, no segan silu here. Break all the barriers of communication, like what Mira has said, call me Andy. Because at the end of the day, when we return to the Creator, semua pangkat dan darjat yang ada, tak ada. Kita akan tinggal sebagai Andy Liu sahaja. So in the end, please feel free to call me Andy. I know there is always a respect between you and me. And terlebih dahulu izinkan saya mengendalikan majlis ini dalam adunan bahasa Malaysia dan bahasa Inggeris. And it is definitely an incredible honor to be here, to be present this morning, or to be part of your strategic workshop initiative. And honestly, to me, I have never come across yet, or maybe there is, which I'm not aware, that IIUM to me is the first university that I know that in fact it is so sesi perkongsian di pagi ini, saya juga ingin mengambil kesempatan untuk mengucapkan selamat Hari Raya. Maaf zahir batin, I know it is still within the bulan Syawal, It will be over probably on the 20th of May. So it is not too late for me. And Ma'af Zahir Batin, hips and lots to Professor Mira, Dr. Samsu and Aida, because they have been very tabah sepanjang perjalanan untuk melamar saya to be with you untuk sesi perkongsian ini. I'm so sorry, Mira, for all the hardships that you have to go through. And for that, allow me to offer you serangkap pantun untuk membelai jiwa dan merangsang minda kamu di pagi mulia ini. Cincin di sarung, tanda cinta tak bertepi. Jalinan akad buat senyuman di hati. Bertemu denganmu, permainan. Semoga tidak ada. So I hope those of you who are present physically in this August hall, as well as those of you who are in the Pesada Maya, feel free to interject. If there is an opportunity, feel free to interject any point of time to raise any of the questions that you have or you wish to clarify any ambiguity. Now, I would try not to neglect anybody in this hall, but unfortunately, my body is actually looking at this direction. And we do not have this monocular vision that I can go on the side. I have this stereoscopic vision of a human being. So, mohon jangan kecil hati jika saya asyik memandang di tengah di sini, but I will always make sure that you are also being taken care of on the sides. All right. Now, so much for the introduction. Now, my task here today is to share as much experiences and knowledge that I have gathered through the interaction with various stakeholders, including universities, including students, including the regulatory body. And the focus today definitely is on micro-credential. And I just realized there is always this terminology being used in UIA, interchangeably. Maksudnya kadang-kala you guna MOOCs, kadang-kala you guna MC, which is micro-credential. Perhaps my first question to any one of you out there, whether it is in the Pesada Maya or physically present in this hall, what is actually the difference or similarity between MOOCs and micro-credential? Why are some people using these two terminology interchangeably? Is there any difference between those two istilah? I'm sorry, I don't have the names who are present this morning, so I really cannot call out your names. The only person that I can call out, I'm making eye contact right now, is abang kita yang pakai songkok. What in your perception, is there any mic for this abang kita untuk menceritakan apakah perbezaan antara MOOCs dengan micro-credential ataupun kedua-duanya memang sama? Are they really the same or are they really different? Don't worry, it's not about getting a right or wrong answer. It's about sharing of your thoughts.
Okay. Thank you. My understanding may be a bit limited, but I think most massively online cost normally is delivered online. But for micro-credentials, not necessarily.
All right.
Okay, so but for both, I think you need to develop, the necessary contents that are suitable for, the most effective delivery.
Okay. What's your name? Sorry.
I'm Abdul Rahman from the Kuliah Fat City.
Okay, hi. I'll call you Raman.
Yeah, no problem. Okay.
All right, so thank you so much, Raman. We'll want to hear from another younger generation. This table. I'm sorry, I can't be moving around. I think this is the idea of the organizer that want to lock me here because of this mic yang dia punya wire tak begitu panjang untuk saya berulang-alik di pentas ini. Juga untuk adik yang bersongkok. What do you understand by MOOCs and micro-credential?
Thank you. I'm Kamil from Kuliah of Nursing. My understanding is almost similar like Prof. Rahman earlier, but then for micro-credential, we may need to have the course itself. We need to develop the course itself. And then for nursing, we may need to have practical component where they have to come to physically join the practical session with the instructor. Where else, I think for MOOC, we can deliver it through online right itself. Yeah.
What about the content of the micro-credential and MOOCs? Are they completely different?
I would say almost similar.
All right, so thank you, a boy. Yeah, I'm very sure it's much younger than. All right. So you have heard two comments given by. All right, and I presume. So what I would like to reaffirm is that first. The books itself here acronym for open online courses. Massive. Massive here means you can reach to a very large audience, whether it is local or international. And you have seen these MOOCs being offered by providers like Udemy, Coursera. You can imagine that outreach, the reach that they have touched, the lives that they have touched beyond the borders of one continent. All right, so that is what they call massive open online courses, meaning entirely online. Micro-credential itself can be online, can be physical, can be blended. All right, so both of them, the similarity would be they are actually educational resources. They are actually educational resources. Dari segi kesamaan. All right, the perbezaan here would be very largely dependent on the purpose. The purpose of micro-credential is to certify that learning has occurred. A certification. It could be certification of knowledge, certification of skills, certification of competencies. While MOOCs, on the other hand, is not a certification of those attributes that I mentioned. So what you need to do here is that you have to clearly understand when you are looking at offering micro-credentials, you are actually looking at another approach to deliver the knowledge, to deliver the skills, to deliver the competencies to the learner out there. So this is where I also realized that you have asked to answer some survey questions, right? By Pejabat Dr. Samson. And I have looked at some of the answers. And I've looked at some of the points that you raised about when you share. One of the things that I noticed is that you always say, how do I incorporate micro-credentials into my academic program? All right. Now, in the past, when you register for an academic program, you will be locked down for 2 years If it's a part-time for master degree, 3 years for bachelor full-time, and 3 years for a doctorate level. So right now, what MQA has given all of you is the flexibility to unbundle your degree program into small sizes, chunk sizes of micro-credential, bite sizes. So I want you to make sure to now reprogram your frame of thoughts this morning, that you can actually now deliver higher degree or higher education to anyone out there, not necessarily asking them to commit to a degree program right from the start. Meaning, if I'm your learner that knock on the door of UIA, you can tell Andy, you don't worry, you don't register for a degree program, but you register for this micro-credential courses that I've unbundled from my degree program. All right? So you must go in with that mindset. You mustn't think whatever that I'm doing as a micro-credential is over and above your tanggungjawab hakiki, which is to monitor the degree program. No, it should be supplementing it. It should be incorporated into the degree program now. All right. So this is why the following slide here, you will see Ida, I think, can you please help? So if you look at the following slide here, this particular slide will tell you not to resist the wave of micro-credential. That means you don't go against it, but you ride on the wave of micro-credential, just like ChatGPT. All right, every one of us here, we know there are many providers out there, AI tools like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is one of them. All right, there are many like Bob, Monica, dan sebagainya. You cannot say, I'm going to punish somebody who uses ChatGPT. All right. You must make sure how you supplement ChatGPT into your delivery, teaching, learning model. So the same way goes to your micro-credential. All right. So as I mentioned just now, the first question, the first pertinent question to ask would be, what is micro-credential? So just now, I already briefly shared with you, it is a certification of skills, knowledge, and competencies. That is what micro-credential is all about. Now, before we actually dwell further down into what exactly contributes a good micro-credential, and to appreciate what micro-credential is, perhaps okay, sorry for the technical glitches. I tak tahu kenapa I hilang kawalan of this remote control, but I believe there is hikmah di sebaliknya. All right, the hikmah probably would prompt your brain cells to look at what is coming. All right, now, first of all, let us go back to the drawing board again. A degree program. Now, in a degree program, you know, when you offer any particular degree, whether it is a bachelor degree, master degree, or doctorate degree, our purpose is for the just in case phenomenon credentialing. Just in case means you are preparing the learners for potential future careers, right? just in case. So when you do the just in case curriculum, this is where you have a very comprehensive curriculum covering things like university component, core courses, basic major courses, elective courses. So those are the structure of a basic curriculum in a degree. And this is always time-based, very rigid, meaning you have no rooms to actually move and change as and when you like. You'll be probably by semester when you do your course monitoring. So in short, a degree is actually a macro credential. A degree is actually a macro credential. So when you look at degree, then you would then have to ask Andy, if a degree is a macro credential, that means you are telling me there is actually another alternative credentialing. There is another alternative credentialing. Ida, can you? I don't know why the slide is not moving just now, but I believe God is telling something here to all of you. There must be something in your degree program. All right, there must be a hidden message. Okay, it is a divine hand interjecting and telling us there must be something in there. All right. So if you look at this traditional credentialing, which is the macro credential versus the alternative credentialing. I think God is also menguji kesabaran saya and kesabaran kamu semua. All right. So there are many dugaan dan many test trials yang perlu kita lalui even today. All right. Okay, so this alternative credentialing is creating how to say a variety of opportunities. A variety of opportunities not only for university students, but for public in general. The public here can be people who are working in the industries, could be self-employed, or could be employed by an organization or a company. It could be homemaker as well, or it could be school children. So all these are the different stakeholders of this alternative credentialing. Okay, we will let the secretariat manage that. So maybe I'll go on from here. This alternative credentialing here, meaning you are awarding a certification to the learners out there. And I'm very sure under this Dr. Samsu's department, some of you may have offered micro-credential to your students, to your staff, or to your industry partners. I'm going to ask you one simple question here. When you offer micro-credential to the stakeholders, what actually do you need? Can somebody tell me what actually do you need when an offering of micro-credential is awarded? What are the resources that you need? The resources would be the teachers, the cikgu, the lecturers to design the content of the micro-credentials, right? And micro-credentials, usually when you design, it should be in bite sizes. Bite sizes. You tak boleh ada satu micro-credential yang almost the same period of a semester system. People would not be interested. So remember I told you about the unbundling of your degree program. Let me take a master degree program. In a master degree program, you have about 12 courses, 12 subjects. So when I want to offer micro-credential, I can break these 12 courses, this degree program of a master degree program into 12 bite sizes. And 12 bite sizes to me is not a good model. People would not be interested. People will say it's too heavy. All right, so you need to break it down further to more mini bite sizes. So when you break it down to mini bite sizes, then you're able to capture the interests of the learners. Of course, the learner will ask, the first question is, this micro-credential that is offered by UIA, does it benefit me? Does it help me in the reskilling, upskilling of my work if I'm a working adult? If the answer is a no, then your micro-credential will not do well. Remember, this is not MOOCs. This is a course that you offer for certification of knowledge, skills, or competencies. So my first advice to you is, whenever you want to offer micro-credential, number one, you can work with your industry partners. Your industry will tell you your companies that you have signed MOU with. The company will tell you, UIA, I need to train my people on communication skills. I need to train my people on sales and services management. Let's say you sign an MOU with Perodua. Definitely they want those skills. So you go into those content under the degree program. It can be one degree program or it can be multiple degree programs. Draw the content out. All right. So this is where you have to collaborate with industries. And of course, secondly, you have to see what is the strategic plan of the Higher Education Ministry, Ministry of Higher Education. What is the plan of the Ministry of Education? What are the skills, competencies that they are looking to enhance in the learner? This is where you develop micro-credentials along that specific content. All right. So number one is the content. Now, number two, you're talking about certification. So when you're talking about certification, then you have to ask yourself, how do I measure that the learning has occurred in the person registered for my micro-credential? If there's no learning in that person, it is not a micro-credential anymore. It could be considered as your MOOCs. And MOOCs, most of the time, is free, most of the time. Unless you want to be certified that you have acquired a knowledge, then you have to pay a nominal amount. That is the difference between MOOCs and micro-credential again. So here, in certification, definitely, it comes back to your assessment. So you have to make sure what form of assessment that I am incorporating into the micro-credential. Your micro-credential to me cannot have the same assessment like how you assess the traditional learners. Cannot. All right? But at the end of the day, what is important, you remember all of us in this hall, we are so familiar with OBE, outcome-based education, right? Everything is about constructive alignment. Your micro-credential has a learning outcome. If your assessment is able to measure the achievement of the learning outcome, that is a good assessment too. If your assessment cannot, then you got to revisit the assessment model. All right? So you're talking about the award. The award of that micro-credential would have to come with the assessment. Prior to the award, definitely is the delivery. The delivery now, you have to go back to your usual mantra. You remember in a degree program, you always talk about student learning time. Whatever that you design as a micro-credential, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the learners. If you say this is a one-week micro-credential with this 10 content, would the learners be able to go through this content if I'm also a working adult here? So you got to look at all these different aspects when you design the content, when you put in the student learning time. So to me, when you want to design a good micro-credential, you must be able to agihkan masa yang diperlukan untuk pembelajaran content 1, 2, 3. So that would serve as a guide to that learner who registered for your micro-credential. Okay? You have to be very careful. If you do not have this proper guide, the retention rate of people registering for your micro-credential will be very, very low. You akan nampak attrition rate-nya amat tinggi, kecicirannya tinggi, until they will say, I would not come back to UIA for any micro-credential anymore. Number one, because the content is too heavy, there is no support, there is no proper guide, they would not come back to you. You have to be very careful. When you want to launch your micro-credential, let's say you have not launched in your kuliah, look at those aspects. All right, student support services is very, very important, especially when you're doing micro-credential. This is almost the same like running an ODL course, not ODL program. ODL course, independent learning, is me, Andy Liu. Most of the time, I would do the independent learning. You would only come in to guide me for certain hours of tutorial or engagement in the forum, correct? Most of the time, it will be me on my own. So if you want me to learn on my own, all the materials that you are putting up in your online learning platform must help me to learn on my own. You must give me enough resources, all right? If you have offered an ODL program, one of the major characteristics in any learning materials in ODL, it must embed a teacher in that material. Embed a teacher in that material means when Andy Liu reads the material posted by Mira in the learning platform, when I read the material, it is like Mira talking to me. In the absence of Mira, the material is talking to me. That means it goes this direction, this. It is not this. All right? If it's this, it doesn't work because you didn't give me an opportunity to go back to that direction. So meaning when you do micro-credential, there is always self-activity as well. And the self-activity is to pace the learning of the students. And from the self-activity, I will know whether I acquire the knowledge that you want me to acquire or not. All right, so those are the things that you got to embed it in your micro-credential. That means the micro-credential is written in a conversational writing style, whatever materials that you give. All right, it must be written in a conversational writing style. Maybe the guide, you will tell me, dear learners, for the first content, for the first topic, this is what you ought to do. This is what you will achieve at the end of the course. This is what I call conversational writing style. Okay, so you talk about content, you talk about delivery, you talk about assessment. All right, now the fourth one. The fourth one is where are you going to hold the information of what I have done? I've completed one micro-credential, first micro-credential. Where are you going to deposit this information in? And of course, all of you have heard about digital badge, right? Digital certification. The digital badge means it's like a credentialing where it's like a transcript. It's like a scroll that has all the metadata. The metadata here means data related to the content, data related to your achievement of your results, who provided, who offered this particular course to you as a micro-credential. They are all in that digital batch. All right. So to me, you got to look at this digital credentialing, digital batch. So if I move on now, if you can see in this, okay, now this is what I've just described just now for the past 3 to 5 minutes. Micro-credential is a demonstration of your competency, validated by, definitely in this case would be UIA. And the recognition that you're going to give is definitely the digital badge. Ida, please next. This is digital badge that I mentioned just now. It is a digital file containing all the relevant metadata. Next. Look at the evidence that can be embedded in the metadata here. All right. It can be in video file format, text, PDF, or even images. Next. This is what we talk about blockchain technology. All right. So to me, it is not managed at the faculty level. I think the center that manages micro-credential, you got to consider having this technology that drives your digital certification and digital badge. All right. Now you can see in this technology, there are 4 main stakeholders. Right on the left would be the regulator, for example, then the employers, the students, and the teachers. What I'm trying to tell you here is that when you have this blockchain technology, one of the ciri keistimewaan is the transparency of the information. Transparency, accessibility of the information. Any one of them out there can actually access your profile, can actually access your digital file. All right. And when I can access this, Andy Liu can also have it ported into different areas. That means the portability across the different platforms. It could be TikTok, it could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, LinkedIn, or whatever it is. All of them can cut across. Okay. And any question up to this point? Any question? So remember, all this is important because you need these different interested parties to verify and authenticate that you have acquired the learning. For all you know, in future, the HR of UIA, when you get new candidates for interview, the candidates will tell HR, please go into this particular site to view all my digital badges or digital credential. All right, so from there, they don't even need to submit all the hard copies through email or whatever mode that you're thinking of. So this one is part of the digitalization process. And you can also use blockchain technology for personalized learning. Meaning, if I'm a cikgu and Mira is my student, when I go into the digital credential of Mira, I will know what Mira has learned, how did Mira do in the different aspects of the disciplines. So when I render the support services to Mira, I will try to pack the services at Mira's level. Because if I don't do that, if I give something which is higher than what Mira can actually comprehend, Mira would not do well in the academic program. So blockchain technology itself can also use to personalize learning. So there are banyak kebaikan. So to me, it is high time that UIA, if belum lagi, please look into this. Look into getting this blockchain technology into your system. All right. Next, please. Okay, now the other thing that you need to understand, that was just a brief introduction of what, how, and the expectations of a micro-credential. The next session itself here, we will dwell into what is MQA's stand perspective on micro-credentialing. If you look at this particular slide, it all started with this simple guideline in 2019. In 2019, May 2019, there was a publication by MQA on micro-credential. This is a very simple guideline. That's why they call it Guideline on Micro-Credential. I've already shared this document with Ida and asked Ida to share with all of you, whether you are present in this physical hall or you're not present in this physical hall, share with all of you. Now, in this particular guideline, they will tell you the principles of a good micro-credential. How can you effectively manage micro-credential? So when this guideline was introduced, there were a lot of sambutan hangat daripada HEPs, higher education provider, which is why in 2020, next please. In 2020, they developed another guideline called Guidelines to Good Practices of Micro-Credential. Just now was just merely guidelines. Now this is Guidelines to Good Practices of Micro-Credential. Now in this guideline, it states very, very clearly, if you have an academic program, you can unbundle them into bite sizes of micro-credential. You can break down. As I told you just now, the 12 courses in the master program offer as individual courses to your students, all right? But I wouldn't advise you to offer that one single course to a industry partner. The industry partner will say it's too heavy, it is not tailored, made to my expectation, my demand. All right. So here, when MQA does this, MQA is allowing you to register a student without committing to a degree program. All right. So let's say right now, I'm actually doing shopping within all the IPTA in Malaysia. I just want to see whether UIA is the institution that I want to lock myself in for the next 2 years for my master degree program. So I would say, right, okay, I'm happy with the content of the program of UIA for, let's say, master in cybersecurity. Example, yeah, I'm happy. But I want to make sure before I actually pay 20,000-30,000 to UIA for my entire degree program master, I want to make sure this is the university that I want to be locked in for the next 2 or 3 years. So I would say, all right, sir, madam, puan, I would register for one course dulu. But at that time, you don't register me as a student of that master degree program. You register me as a student of that micro-credential. All right. So I would just follow the courses as how you deliver for your traditional courses. You can do that. Or you want to open up another class, a completely different class of micro-credential, pun boleh. So it's up to you. All right. It's up to your own resources yang ada. So let's say I follow the traditional class. So when I register, the whole assessment delivery process sama seperti yang conventional. The only thing yang berbeza At the end of the day, I would get a result slip stating Andy Liu has passed, let's say, corporate governance course, and I will get a grade for that. So that is the unbundling of the degree program as a single micro-credential. So I would say, oh, very good. I will try another micro-credential from UIA. So the next semester, I register for another micro-credential. So another micro-credential in my head. That means dalam basket saya dah ada 2 micro-credential. Then in the third semester, I would say, wow, good. I like all the content, the support services, the staff are very engaging, very committed. I go to registry and say, saya nak daftar sebagai pelajar for this MBA program. Then you have to see whether I fulfill the entry requirement or not, right? So what you do now is you transfer all this micro-credential yang saya telah ambil in the past 2 semesters into the actual degree program. So when you transfer, you are transferring my credits, number 1. You are transferring my grades. You must remember that. You transfer 2 things into my future degree program with UIA. Transfer grades, transfer credits. You only do that when it is your own micro-credential, because you will know the quality of the whole micro-credential. That's why you transfer the grades and the credit all together. All right? Now, when I'm telling you this, I'm also telling you that MQA allows Andy Liu to do 100% micro-credential of your MBA program. That means I can do, if you have 12 courses, all these 12 courses I register as micro-credential. I didn't commit to your MBA program at all. Until at the very end, then I say, oh, I'll come to the faculty kuliah and say, I've collected all your 12 courses in the MBA. Here you go. Can you consider an award of MBA for me? Then you will see whether the 12 courses that I've chosen are relevant to the MBA program. If it's relevant, then you will say, Andy Liu, okay, relevant, number 1. Number 2, you got to look at my entry requirements, correct? If a master degree, you must have at least a bachelor degree, right? I can be an Appel student that I don't have a bachelor degree, but you must have a diploma. You must be 30 years of age. So semua kriteria-kriteria kelayakan kemasukan masih perlu dipatuhi. Okay, so in future, to me, you got to consider this model. It could be the mainstream model for your postgraduate students. For your undergraduate, they will always commit to that 3 years, right? For postgraduate, sometimes they don't want to commit. And I've seen in certain IPTS, dia guna model ini. And when the services and content are so good, so relevant to the workplace, they draw them in the end. Okay? They draw them into the mainstream of the master degree program in the end by starting with micro-credential. All right? So imagine if you don't do this, there are many out there are doing this. You will miss this category of learners. You will miss them here. So this is why I'm urging every faculty now to fully embark on this 2020 micro-credential unbundling of the degree program yang dibenarkan. Okay. There is always this question through the stakeholder meeting and through many forums that we have. When I offer micro-credential unbundling, do I need to use the same assessment, the same cara saya mengajar? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. All right? But there's this condition. Sebarang cara pengajaran dan cara penilaian atau kaedah penilaian alat penilaian kamu guna must be constructively aligned. Maksudnya penjajaran konstruktif must be there. One. Number two, you must observe the student learning time. Right from the beginning, tadi saya berkongsi that you must see that I'm a working adult. If you give me this number of content, would I be able to sumbang, mengorbankan masa saya untuk mengikuti kandungan ini with my limited time? All right, because working adults, they have commitment of family, commitment of work, and personal commitment. And now you tambah lagi satu commitment pembelajaran. Can they manage with these 4 commitments? If you tell them you got to spend 5 hours in the day, my answer will be impossible. They can never survive. Okay? All right, so those are the things that you got to map out when you offer micro-credential through the unbundling approach. Okay? Doesn't mean that it must be a proctored final exam yang kamu guna in your conventional. In micro-credential, it could be a case study, it could be a presentation, it could be a viva, it could be an interview yang kamu guna sebagai kaedah penilaian. All right? Any question? So the next one, okay, so as I have mentioned just now, I've shared these 2 documents with Ida, and I urge her to share it with all of you. So take a look at this 2 documents, but your focus should be this one. Now, yes, Sir Raman. I need.
Yeah, before you go further, I would like to just refer back to the transfer of credits and grades. You said that the transfer has to be your own micro-credentials. So is there possibility of inter-institution transfer of credits?
Yes, possible. All right. So for here, actually I wanted to come to that eventually, but since Raman has raised this, what we have discussed just now was your own micro-credential. That's why you transfer your grades, because you know your grading system. But if you're transferring somebody's micro-credential, let's say Taylor's University, for example, somebody did a micro-credential in Taylor's University and come to UIA. Usually, you will not transfer the grades. You will transfer the credits if the content are relevant, right? You wouldn't transfer the credits. You wouldn't transfer the grades. And this is why MQA has also given this syarat. When you are taking micro-credential from orang luar, all right, other IPTS, you can, but up to a maximum of 70%. 70%. Meaning 30% must be your internal micro-credential. If I'm a person who says I want to do everything menerusi micro-credential, 30% will be me, UIA. So meaning in the 30%, you have your grades, you have your credits, and this is how you calculate your CGPA, correct? Imagine if they allow 100% from outside into your program and they don't have grades. How are you going to calculate your CGPA? Impossible, right? And this is why they clearly said that 30% must be internal. 70% can be different institution. When I say 70% can be different institution, meaning institution A, I take some. Institution B, institution C, I take some. All right, so it can be one institution external, it can be multiple institutions into UIA. Boleh. All right, so yes. Never mind. It's okay. It's good to share.
Hi, my name is Samsul also. I just want to clarify or a little bit of understanding so that I can relate. First question, I got two questions actually. First question is that what is the current reaction from the market with micro-credential? Meaning to say, how would potential employers see future employees without having degrees, they have micro-credential.
Yes. So is that your first question?
That's my first
Okay,
question.
So I'll answer your first question here. From the needs analysis and from the engagement we do with the industries, they welcome this idea more than commitment to a degree program. Because to them, when I do micro-credential, my first thing is I want to see whether it is helping me to upskill my workforce or not. Or I want a group of my workforce to be reskilled. That means it is upskilling and reskilling, either or both. If you're able to do this on my workforce, you will be indirectly increasing the productivity of my company, right? So my answer would be a yes. Definitely a yes.
Yes, that is probably referring to the current workforce you have. What about the upcoming ones? You know,
The
like
upcoming
the
ones, then they will ask you, is your micro-credential preparing my workforce for what is coming in future? For example, another aspect would be AI. Another aspect would be data analytics, machine learning. Are you preparing my workforce for that? Then I will be interested in. So that is why when you design a micro-credential, you kena lihat whether this one fulfill the needs of the current and the future. And people will tell you what I expect of the current and why I expect of the future. And you can even tell them, if this is a current that you want, you tell the company director, whoever it is, sir, I think the future is heading towards that direction. And I suggest that UIA offer this to your future workforce. Okay? You will say in future, a lot of the communication will be through virtual, right? So there is another skills. If you're in the communication skills, you'll probably look at virtual collaboration, isn't it? You are going to look at the social impact out of this. So all these little things you are preempting that you are preparing these industry players out there to equip their employees with the necessary skills. Okay? And you can even have a course on ChatGPT. The industry can actually use this ChatGPT to move their productivity. There are many ways. All right?
The second question is related to what you just said. I'm looking from a marketing perspective. when you look at when we want to market certain new products coming from this university, obviously, partly it is because of the brand name. Maybe IIUM carries the good brand name. But when you are looking at, generally there are some statements saying that in the future we don't need to have formal education, and probably ChatGPT would be the answer to all these problems rather than going to formal education, whether it is through a full degree or whether it's just by bite size.
Right.
So, well, what's your take on that?
Okay, I think to me the greatest effect that ChatGPT will have, let's say industry, will be I don't need any more consultant. All the consultancy work that saya employ consultant, I will say, sorry, consultant, you kena gulung tikar. Because ChatGPT right now, it may not be accurate. Some information may not be accurate, but you know how the machines learn, right? The more and more information they dapat from everywhere, the more intelligent he will become or she will become. Okay, so you have to now think ahead of time. If this is going to displace my workforce, what is it that you want to impart the micro-credential skills, the content of the micro-credential skills into the company that I'm working with? What you could look at is the soft skills, the critical thinking aspect, where ChatGPT will never be able to override the human values. Those are the skills that you got to incorporate into your micro-credential. All right? For all you know, one day they will say, I don't need UIA micro-credential. I will rely on ChatGPT. And ChatGPT one day may even have this voice over and tell you, hello, this is how you should learn. When you punch in the answer, he will even tell you, oh, wrong answer. I think you should do this, you should do that, right? Do you realize that ChatGPT is better than any of us here in this room? If you ask ChatGPT 1000 kali, dia akan tenang. You ask any one of you, this cikgu, 10 kali if I knock on your door, cikgu, kenapa ni A ya? Kalian keluar masuk, cikgu, kenapa you cakap macam tu? Keluar lagi, masuk lagi, cikgu, I don't quite understand. You tengok macam mana pengaliran darah kamu dalam jantung. Akan terusik for sure. Okay, walaupun betapa tinggi iman kita, akan terusik. But if you are able to control, your keimanan semakin mencapai tahap kayangan. Okay, so all these are the little things that you have to see. How is this machines are going to displace us if we don't fikir on the respective angle yang betul. All right. Okay. Whatever that you do, my advice is this. When you do a micro-credential, ask yourself this 4 or 3 questions. How do I create? How do I manage? How do I expand? Okay, and how do I sustain? If you're able to answer this, that means your micro-credential is quite safe, right? If you can create, but you cannot, let's say at the end, tak boleh sustain, that means you only reap the benefit for a short period of time, saja. Then you have to exit, go in with another micro-credential. Okay, I repeat, create, manage, expand, sustain. Okay, so all this tak ada dalam GGP punya. It is a sharing of experience. Create, manage, expand, sustain. All right. Any more question? Yes, please. Amiro, Miro, we would like to hear your nada suara yang mengancam.
All right. Okay. What would be some of the challenges that the students might face if they were to register for these micro-credentials, and how do we go about it?
Okay, the challenges to me is like the challenges of an open distance learning phase. They will lose interest, they will get demotivated because the culture of the education dari kecil sampai sekarang, let's say in our public, not international school, we have been spoon-fed, too dependent on the cikgu. Semua cikgu bagi. So we dependent on the cikgu. So this learner will still carry that mindset. And when they say, how come my cikgu tak ada? Most of the time, the cikgu asks me to read on my own, do on my own. All right? So these are the challenges, but you can overcome these challenges through many different ways. Number one, you can have social interaction through your WhatsApp. If you're willing to review your WhatsApp number, and you said, for example, there is a tutorial coming up next week, before the tutorial, text them. All right. I hope to see you next week. These are the things that we need to learn. Then before the tutorial, actual tutorial day, text them again. Oh, I'm so looking forward to meet up with you. Please remember this is this system. Then masa tutorial, you engage. Then lepas tutorial, you also have this post tutorial. So how are you guys? Did you all learn this? Did you hear what Amiro, did you hear what Samsu mentioned? You bring them up, you engage with them, you connect with them, okay? When you connect, engage with them, when you call them out by name, then they will appreciate, oh, you are actually treating me as an insan Tuhan or whatever that is. You appreciate my existence. Human being is like this. When you appreciate my existence, I would feel motivated. All right. And you must guide me. If you find that I'm very weak in this area, you must guide me. Whether with resources or whether pointing out feedback yang constructive. So to me, the greatest challenge is they will hilang minat, they will leave your micro-credential. Okay, so to me, it's a regular monitoring, regular review of your processes. What you do this semester, you have to review. What went wrong? What was good? If it is good, you have to map it out onto the other courses. If it's not good, immediately chop and redo the entire thing. Okay? Any question? But the other one, the other skills to me, the other challenge to me is how well your cikgu is with all the online tools. How well your cikgu is with all the online tools. How well your cikgu can engage with the pelajar is another one. So the soft skills as well as the skills, online skills. Itu juga akan menjadi the critical success factor. Okay. Some cikgu, they are very good in the knowledge and the content, but they cannot transfer the knowledge. Somehow tak boleh. Okay. So you have to be very careful. Whoever that you identify to do micro-credentialing, you must not start with this category of people. Okay. If you start with this category of cikgu, then the challenges will be even higher. All right. Any question? Any more question? Now, this is to pay tributes to those who were part of the team members. I think some of the team members, their pangkat has changed, the institution pun dah berlaku, ada yang dah bersara. Okay. Okay, I'm just extracting certain policies that to me, it is critical if you want to unbundle the micro-credential from your academic program. Number one, it does not need any entry requirement, as you all know, all right? But you only need to make sure it fulfills the entry requirement at the time where you want to register the student as a learner in the program. Then for that, you know what is upper A, you know what is upper M. Upper A and upper M adalah daripada keluarga yang sama. Daripada keluarga yang sama bererti pengiktirafan pembelajaran terdahulu. That means recognition of prior learning. And prior learning, there are three types. Formal learning maksudnya learning yang membawa kepada kelayakan akademik. It could be my STPM, SPM, HSC, A-levels, certificate, diploma, all these are formal learning. Second one is the informal learning. Informal learning adalah your work experience, okay, your hobbies, semuanya dibawa informal learning. Third adalah non-formal learning. The non-formal learning adalah kursus-kursus pendek that you have gone through. Short courses, conferences, seminars, workshops that you have gone through. Those are non-formal learning. So bererti from these three forms of learning, you are recognizing this prior learning to allow them to enter a degree program. That means you are measuring the competencies of these three learning in fulfillment of the kelayakan kemasukan. So berarti for a bachelor degree, just give you an example if you're unfamiliar with a bachelor degree through APEL A, I don't need any diploma, I don't need any CGL. I can be somebody that has no formal education at all. Langsung tak ada. Tak ada PMR, tak ada SRP, tak ada MCE, semua tak ada. Langsung tak ada. I can go for APEL A. Bila lulus APEL A, I can masuk the degree program officially, secara rasmi. This is APEL A. Okay. APEL.M. The M there stands for micro-credential. Micro-credential. Okay. Now, for you to understand APEL.M, what is important right now is you got to know what is the assessment instrument in APEL.A. Apakah instrumen penilaian that is in APEL.A? APEL.A for a master degree entry, you have aptitude tests, you have portfolio, you have interview. 3 instrument penilaian at the master level for APEL A. I repeat, aptitude, portfolio, and interview. 3 instrument penilaian for APEL.A at the master level. APEL.M is to cater for people who have registered for the micro-credential. Remember micro-credential just now, the unbundling one? They only need to do 1 assessment, which is portfolio. You see the difference now? The A, APEL A yang kita sebut tadi has 3 instruments. The M has only 1 instrument, which is portfolio. So that is the difference between A and M. Okay. Now, under the GGP micro-credential, you would then ask Andy, when do I use A? When do I use M? I give you one example. You may ask me a question, Andy, Mira has taken 20% of the master degree program through micro-credential, 20%. 20% of the total credit through micro-credential. So Mira comes to UIA. Is Mira going to do APEL A or Mira going to do APEL.M? Have you ever heard of that before? The criteria is for Mira to go into APEL.M, Mira must complete at least 50% through micro-credential. If Mira only completes 40% of the total degree through micro-credential, Mira cannot come in using APEL.M. Mira must come in using APEL.A. That is the criteria yang membezakan A dengan M. Tapi kedua-duanya is to help people without any formal learning to come into any degree program, whether it is certificate, diploma, bachelor, master, or doctorate. Okay, even now, doctorate, you can go into PhD, research-based, fully research, PhD mixed mode, PhD coursework-based. Boleh juga guna APEL.A, APEL.M dah. Okay. Any question? The rest, I'll skip it. Okay. This is another policy that you got to understand. When you look at the GGP micro-credential, definitely you akan menggaru kepala. Kenapa 19, you have 18 plus 1? You look at, let's say, look at this. Bachelor. Look at bachelor, you have two types of entry, yeah? You have two types of entry in the bachelor degree program. Satu, the regular entry requirement. Maksudnya, you masuk menggunakan diploma or HSC or A-level. This one, you masuk melalui APEL.A or APEL.M. In APEL for bachelor degree level, you mesti mencapai sekurang-kurangnya 21 years of age. When you enter, you must be at least 21. You know why I plus 3? Because the bachelor degree is 3 years. So 21 plus 3 is 24. So if I'm an APEL A student, my age of graduation sekurang-kurangnya 24 tahun. Right? So what this guidelines to good practices for micro-credential is saying, sesiapa yang kamu nak graduate through micro-credential, 100%, they cannot be less than the age of here. All right? They cannot graduate if they are not 24. They must be at least more than 24. You know why? You know why MQA is imposing these standards? I give you one example. What will happen if they don't impose these standards? I'm in Form 5 now. I start registering for your degree program. Satu or dua kursus every month. I'm in Form 5 now. I can, right? Because you're offering as micro-credential, I pay, I register. 3 years down the road or 4 years down the road, Form 5, I would have completed your bachelor degree program, correct? So can you imagine if I'm Form 5, how old is Form 5? Form 5 could be 17 years old, let's say. So 17 plus, let's say 3 or 4 years, I will only be 21 years old. By 21, I've graduated with a bachelor degree. So they do not want people to start disrupting the education system in the secondary school. Do you understand? Kalau tak, can you imagine one day, nobody would want to go to secondary school dah. Tak ada dah. Terus by Form 1, they start registering for your micro-credential. There is a possibility, you never know, right? Okay, do you understand now? Do you understand? If you see this table in the GGP micro-credential, that is the purpose of having it there. Okay, now in the GGP micro-credential, it is only until master. That means they terlepas pandang PhD. Okay, doctorate. Now, let's say now with this pemahaman, understanding, would you able to tell me, let's say I add in another column, another row here, master. Master on current, master on APEL A, APEL.M. Tell me what is the age of the current PhD graduate. What is the nominal age of a current PhD doctorate graduate? Anyone? 20? No, yang masuk selepas master agaknya. Yang masuk selepas master. You see, when I finish my master on the current, I'm 24, right? So let's say a doctorate degree right now, full-time, is always 3 years. MQA dah tetapkan 3 years doctorate. So 24 plus 3, 27 years old. So berarti if you're offering DBA through micro-credential, I cannot graduate if my age is only 26 when I finish your DBA micro-credential, I must be at least 27 or more. All right, so this is a policy that you kena tetapkan in your Senate, that you make sure tak graduate.
Prof,
Yes,
so just so that to clarify, so the learner could complete everything earlier, right?
yes.
They just need to wait
Correct.
for 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay.
But macam ni, they always have this nampak tak dia ada caveat ini, dia ada pengecualian ni. Tapi tak boleh selalu guna pengecualian ni. If let's say 100 students you guna 100 pengecualian ni, it's not pengecualian already, it's normalizing it already. Right? So dalam GGP ni dia benarkan pengecualian ni. Alright. Now tadi, remember tadi when we spoke about the doctorate kat sini, the regular punya 27 years age, right? Do you know what is the upper A punya entry minimum entry to upper A berapa umur at the doctorate level? Anybody who are familiar with upper.A? For master is 30 years. All right, for entry. For doctorate, minimal is 35. 35 untuk dia masuk melalui appel.A or appel.M. So if 35 saya masuk plus 3 is 38. So if I'm a working adult doing your DBA melalui appel.M, if saya kurang daripada 38, I cannot graduate. Are you clear now? Okay, so that is how you interpret the whole table here. Normal graduation age. Okay. Any question? Now I know I've taken longer time than it is, sebab saya semakin risau. Saya nampak ada pemisahan jiwa dan raga di kalangan kamu. Okay. So please bear with me a few more slides, then you can rejuvenate. Jangan completely hilang ya. So this micro-credential, this one is from accredited program. This is standalone micro-credential. Now when you do micro-credential, you got to ask yourself this. The first question you kena tanya, do I want this to be a standalone yang tak terikat to mana-mana degree program? When I work with the industry, do I want this or not? Okay, or I want the industry to terikat kepada micro-credential from accredited program. So if you want terikat kepada accredited program, when you approach the industry, you bawa all the senarai khusus yang ada in, let's say you have 50 programs in UIA, bawa the 50 program punya senarai khusus and say, these are the senarai khusus tuan, pilih yang mana kamu rasa you nak saya train your workforce in. So then they will pilih. If they look at the 50 and they say, oh, nothing suits me, then I, as an industry player, I will tell you, UIA, I want this kind of course. Can you customize and design this course? Then your answer will be yes. That will be under a standalone micro-credential. Okay? All right? Now, when you are doing this, you got to report in the MQA portal, because this is the MQA portal of micro-credentials of the unbundling. I need you to just look at it. As of May 2023, you have 12,450 micro-credentials. How many of UIA1 is in this number? 10, 1, 2, 3. Kalau belum, pastikan kamu sumbang kepada angka ni secepat mungkin sebelum Pak Rektor bertanyakan khabar MC di MQA portal. Alright, so can you imagine how many people have actually run into MC dah? Dah banyak dah. Okay, it's not too late if you have not gone into it full bloom. Not too late. There is still a lot rooms to move. Okay, alright. Nasib tangga tu tak jatuh on shoe. Okay. Now, the next one, okay, I'm not sure whether you can see this diagram very, very clearly. This is a diagram created by MQA. You look at this HEP. HEP is higher education provider, the blue color one. Then you have HEP-A, HEP-B, then the awarding HEP-C. Now, katakan awarding HEP-C adalah UIA. So this is where we are telling you I can take 40 credits, MC1, MC2 from HEP-A, then another one, MC1, MC3, 4 from HEP-B. Then they masuk melalui pemindahan kredit secara horizontal. So in the end, this purple block is the block that dia kena buat the micro-credential UIA. This is the unbundling one. This is the same way. Do you see I can take from A, B, and another provider and transfer it into your UIA. These are 3. Just now was 2. This one, do you see the freestanding micro-credential? Pun boleh transfer credit into your program. You heard of Appel C? If you have Appel C in UIA, then you are going to transfer this credit into the degree program through Appel C. You heard of transferring of credits through MOOCs, credit transfer guideline through MOOCs. There is also this guideline in MQA, which means you can then transfer, you see, nano degree, open credential, micro award, batches, semuanya you transfer into UIA. Bisa diurus, Pak. Okay. Any question?
Hello. Okay. I have one that sent through the Zoom. So, hello. Okay. Hello. Okay. This links to the previous slides that you have. Do micro university rankings like currently having an international ranking, like for example, #1 is Harvard Uni for university ranking. So it's like asking for MC from Harvard. Does Harvard or Oxford or all those things use do MC, and whether it could be transferred in that sense, I think.
Okay, so when we look at transferring of MC into the academic program, it goes back to the credit transfer policy. One of the major policy in the credit transfer is always about content mapping, right? If the content mapping matches 80%, #1, then you cross the first hurdle. Whether it is from Harvard, from NUS, from Universitas Terbuka Indonesia, tak menjadi masalah. Any institution, all right? Content mapping. Second, of course, the credit value, meaning it should be equated to 1 credit, 2 credits, or 3 credits, depending on the student learning time there. Okay. Then third, of course, is the grading. To establish that the grading is at least C ke atas. So those are the things that you kena lihat when you do the transferring of credits. It's not about whether you are ranked number 1, number 2, number 3 under the Setara or mana-mana kind of ranking or Times Higher Education ranking. Okay, or QS ranking. Tak menjadi masalah. All right. Any more question on this? So this is just a summary of what we have done in the past almost 2 hours. You have to ask yourself, what is a micro-credential? Micro-credential is a digital certification. MOOCs is more likely like a digital badge. When you complete, you have this digital badge, most likely a Magento. Then how are you going to do it? Many ways. You can do it online, as Raman said. You can do it online. You can do it physical, depending on the discipline of your micro-credential. Then by all of you, by anyone else with this is your digital badge, or you don't want digital badge, you can even issue paper certification if you not. All right. Then sebagai, whether it is an accredited, unbundling of the accredited or a standalone. So it's entirely up to you. Okay. All right, so this is again another summary, almost the same. I don't. All right. So the take-home message is very simple. Just 3 take-home messages, what Prof. Karim has mentioned before. Number 1, you must know this is an enabler. This is a tool for you to award a qualification to a student, a competency to a student. Number 2, you have to leverage on the technology. You have to leverage on the technology, because without leveraging on the technology, you cannot do a good job in micro-credential. All right. Then the last one, intersection between macro and micro-credential. Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of this intersection between macro and micro-credential? Your macro is your degree, right? Your micro. Apakah yang menjadi jambatan or titi antara dua ni? What do you need? What do you think would be the jambatan yang connect this macro and micro? To me, it is how you masukkan the element of flexibility. Flexibility dari segi pengiktirafan pembelajaran. Whether you are taking it as micro-credential, I can iktiraf and masuk into your degree program, macro, right? And micro can be unbundling, can be standalone micro. That's why you iktiraf, you masuk ke dalam your macro. That is a bridge. The second one is apa kata, stackable credentials. That means you allow the unbundling to stack, pindah terus masuk ke dalam macro. Stackable credential. All right. The one yang connect lagi is your delivery platform. Different delivery approaches. Jangan sekadar menumpu on the conventional delivery dah. It can be 100% online. It can be a blended. Okay. So it's entirely up to you now. So these are the things yang akan connect the macro and the micro, the intersection there. All right. So any more questions? So bottom line here is that you have to create a flexible learning pathway. You have to create a flexible learning pathway. Otherwise, you will lose out to many public and private institution in Malaysia. Okay, tak boleh rigid macam dulu dah. Kena ubah sedikit. Okay.
Sorry, I just want to
Yes,
ask.
yes, Mira.
We have that kind of perceptions. I think that when it comes to online, it's easier. So I'm not sure whether it's happened in other institutions, but we do have that kind of perceptions here. So if we say we want to have Apple A or Apple M, and we put the conditions that we only accept those micro-credentials which will fill certain credit, I mean like minimum of B+, for example, are we allowed to do that?
Yes, you can.
We can.
You
Oh.
can impose higher standards than what is allowed by MQA.
Okay, so it's not obliged that we
No,
have to take
No,
the grades.
no, it's not obliged.
Okay.
But you have to be mindful if you start imposing that higher standards, then people will say, wow, if I can do it there, then why should I come to UIA, right? You may say, Andy, when I'm doing this, I'm actually setting a high quality of my graduates. The quality of my graduates, I want it to be higher. To me, you can set it by looking at different mechanisms. You can set it by saying for them to exit my system. My gateway punya penilaian is very, very rigid and rigorous. Okay. So you have to be very careful as to how, yes, you want to maintain higher standards, but I'm not asking you to dilute your standards. I'm asking you to sometimes, maybe you say, I want to make sure that it's minimum standards. Lepas itu bila dia masuk, I nak train dia and bring dia up to the standard yang saya nak. Sebelum dia exit. Okay. Of course, if you say Harvard, Stanford, they will say, I want this high standard sebelum I take you in. Because they have the bargaining power. They have the bargaining power, they have the demand, they have the volume. But whether do we have it here or not? If you have, by all means. All right. So you cannot be careful, because every time we impose certain policies, we cannot lihat what is the implication. Sometimes the implication tak berlaku sekarang. It could be 1 or 2 years down the road, you feel the implication coming back to you. All right.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Any more questions?
Any more questions? Any more questions? Okay. Wait.
I saw in your slide earlier, there was Apple Q.
Q.
Yeah, so what does that got to do with micro-credential?
Okay. The apel Q is, I think, is the ibu kepada segala apel. Whether it is A, C, or M, to me, it is the ibu. With all due respect to the ayah juga, yeah. So when we mention ibu, it's like a representation of the parent. Now, the Q here means I recognize the 3 forms of learning: formal, informal, non-formal. So when I recognize this, I assess you guna 4 instrumen sahaja: portfolio, challenge test, field and validation visit, dengan capstone. These 4 instruments sahaja. So for any program yang saya nak mohon untuk apel Q, I cuma go through this 4 process. Let's say, for example, your MBA part-time is 2 years, right? So I come to Rahman and say, Rahman, these are my 20 years of experience. Evaluate saya melalui 4 instrumen ini. So when I go to you, then you will say, Andy, after doing a self-assessment, Andy, I think you are not up to the mark of me assessing you for apel Q yet. Andy, I want you to do a few micro-credential of mine. All right. So when I start doing some micro-credential, then I acquire the skills lebih. So this is where you bawa ini into the apel Q and assess in the portfolio. That is the purpose of why micro-credential is in apel Q, because of the portfolio assessment. portfolio assessment, salah satu penilaian yang akan dia tumpukan is the skills, knowledge, and competency from micro-credential. All right. So any more question? Nampaknya kebanyakan soalan ataupun semua soalan majority daripada jejaka except Mira. What about the others, bunga-bunga yang berputik, yang berkembang dalam this hall? Any question from you? Kakak, adik-adik perempuan kat sini or di pesada maya? Ataupun tengah mencerna fakta-fakta yang dikongsi. Anyway, if you still have questions after this, feel free to engage and ask. We'll be here until this afternoon. All right. So if there's no more question, thank you so much. Mohon maaf sekiranya terdapat sebarang ketelanjuran kata-kata atau tindakan yang telah menghiris sanubari kamu. All right. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much to Prof. Andy for your such a detailed explanation and addressing all of the questions from the audience online and offline in the physical hall. And whatever that you have explained is actually give a lot of insight to us, to me, and to all of us. Okay, in case if there is any last questions from the audience, maybe in the online or at the hall, I think we still have some time to cater the questions. So I think everyone is ready to move forward to the next session, I think. Okay, so I think with that, thank you so much for whatever that you have shared with us. I believe it's a really insightful information that you have been shared by Prof. Andy, and it's a really interactive session. And a lot of questions being asked, a lot of relevant questions being asked. So with that, I think that's it. That is the end of our hybrid session, the online and the physical. So before we end, I would like to really thank all of the audience that have joined us in the online session. Really appreciate your effort to join the online session and to ask a lot of questions to know more and learn more about our MOOC and micro-credential. It's for the purpose of further improvement of our institution. And with that, thank you and hope to see you again soon, maybe in our next online series, inshallah. Okay, so with the end of our first session, which is a sharing by Prof. Andy, so I think we can move forward to the next session, which we will conduct. It's much more of physical interaction. It's more an interactive interaction between the speaker, which is Prof. Andy, Dr. Shamsul, as well as the micro-credential liaison officer that are available today. So what we're going to do next is the session about presenting the finding from the pre-MC pre-roadmap survey, in which that I believe most of us have filled up the survey. But currently, a kind reminder for those IIUM that have yet in the development of a micro-credential based on the finding from this survey. So the floor is yours, Dr. Shamsul.